Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video that I do most Sundays of the month. If you have a gardening question, you can ask it down below this video, and the next time I do one of these question and answer videos, I will prioritize those questions based on the ones I think will help the group the most. The first Sunday of every month, I actually do a Subscriber Sunday video where subscribers send in photos. That's actually coming up next week, the first Sunday in January. If you're interested in sending in photos for that, the email address is right here. A few things before. I don't have many questions because it was Christmas week. I hope everybody had a great Christmas week and have a great New Year's coming up this next week. So I figured the questions would be light. I'm going to use this opportunity to talk about the channel a little bit. This week, the aluminum siding came off the back of the house. The screen porch is about halfway torn down. Hope to finish up tearing it down this today or tomorrow. If you follow me on Instagram, you can follow these photos of what's happening with it. It's finally warm enough. I hopefully can paint this shed and several other things. This next week, you're going to see a video that's going to be a January to-do video, and I'm going to be shooting 12 videos this year each month on things that I think you should be looking out for each month of the year. It's pretty ambitious, and January will be lean. There's not a heck of a lot to do other than be thinking about planning. So you'll see that in the video coming up this week. So there's going to be, like I say, the beginning of every month. I hope it's extremely helpful for those of you who live in zones 4, 5, 6, 7. Where things happen after they do for me, because I'm in zone 7B or 8A almost. It's going to be extremely helpful for you, I think, because you'd be following me behind those of you in zone 8 and 9. If you haven't done something I've pointed out, you probably should get on it pretty quick after you've seen the video. Like I say, January's will be light. By the time we get to spring, there'll be long videos with lots and lots of things to do. Hopefully, those will be very helpful. Like I say, it's a very ambitious project. And there's going to be lots of tour videos this year. I've already lined up some tours. I've got a camellia tour video that I'm shooting on Monday that you guys will see soon after that. A lot of questions I get. Here's Holly right here. I always get questions about Holly when folks who haven't seen her in the videos. There's 700 videos or something on this channel, and Holly's probably managed to appear in 200 plus, I'm sure. She is an 11-year-old Husky mix, best dog I have ever had, and I've had dogs my whole life, and I say this frequently. It's probably a tiny bit mean. I had a border collie before her, and that border collie was so smart, but she was a bit of a terrorist. Really smart dogs can be, they're constantly trying to disobey you by using their brains, to figure things out. And this is not the brightest dog I've ever had, but she's the best dog by far. I don't care what I say to her. She's on it immediately. There's no questions asked. She's never thrown up in the house. She's never done any business in the house. It's the most amazing dog I've ever had. It'll never happen again. I mean, this is by far and away the best dog I've ever had. But anyway, that's Holly, my 11-year-old Husky mix. Okay, on to, like I say, I only have 5 questions here. Somebody asked me about winterizing tropicals inside, and like Dipladenia or any of the climbing vines, tropical hibiscus that you might have, those kinds of things. Those things need tons of light, and that's usually the main cause of the defoliation. If you try to bring a mandevilla, would be another example. Inside in the winter time, there's just not enough light in there. You got to give them supplemental light. They need humidity too, and humidity in the house in the winter, especially when you're running your heat, can be very low. But I think the main issue with tropicals, bringing them inside in the winter time, is light, and so you need some sort of a grow light system in order to keep your tropicals growing inside. The other thing is, if I'm in a warm enough area here in zone 8 where I could leave my mandevilla out probably 2/3 of the winter is not going to damage it. And in fact, we're in the 60s. I could be in shorts right now, and normally I would be, but it makes, I don't know, I always get comments when I'm in shorts in January from people that are in Minnesota that don't necessarily want to see somebody wearing shorts in January. But it's like in the 60s. I would have them outside today, and it's humid too. So, a good combo for your mandevilla. But again, if you're going to bring tropicals inside for the winter time, assume that there's no window in your house that's really bright enough to give them adequate sunlight. Somebody asked me about their salvia flops every summer, and they were looking for a salvia that's more upright and rigid. I did that. I had that one called Amistad at the house, and again, I always talk about Instagram. I took several photos of that thing on Instagram this past summer because it was so rigidly upright. It was the first salvia. Salvia are great for pollinators, those of you who don't grow them. There's salvias that are hardy up to zone 4, and then there's some salvias that are barely hardy here in zone 8, and some just truly tropical salvias that don't come back at all except down in zone 10 or 11. I have a deer walking past me over here while I'm shooting this video, which is kind of funny. But that Amistad salvia was fantastic if you can find that one in the spring. But I always prune. I did not have to do it with that Amistad, and that was the thing I was kept pointing out on Instagram. But most of the time with your salvias, once they start to get a little height on them and they bloom, the blooms kind of slow down a little bit, cut them in half. Cut them in half several times during the summer. Usually as many as 3 times during the summer, I'll cut my salvia in half. I don't cut them all at the same time because I don't want to just take that away from the bees and butterflies and moths and everything else that are on them all at once. So I'll go and cut half my salvia back, wait a week and a half, and then go cut the others in half. But probably 3 times during the summer, maybe by mid-June, mid-July, mid-August, do some pruning on them, and I think you'll see that they're more sturdy and more upright. Somebody asked me about earthworms. Seeing earthworms in the soil is important, and it is an important indicator of healthy soil. It's one of the, earthworms break down organic material and make the nutrients available for our plants to use, and they have several other benefits. They, they create those tunnels that they create allow for water to move more easily in the soil and allow air, which are necessary for roots as well. So earthworms have all kinds of things that earthworms are doing for us, and they are a good indicator of a healthy soil system. When you dig frequently though in the summertime, and you're not going to see them because they go either deeper or they move to lower parts of your yard that are wetter, so they move around quite a bit, and so sometimes measuring them is a difficult thing, knowing how many you have at any given time. But if your yard slopes or that kind of thing, they're definitely going to areas where there's more organic material and they stay moist more consistently because they do need moist soil. And so they're constantly in movement. And that was part of the reason though that I laid down this compost and mulch here. This is kind of out of order. A lot of people go buy plants and then they throw plants in the ground and then they mulch or cover the soil after. And what you've seen me do at this place is I've put down a layer of compost and then I've put down this mulch, and now this is all working for me now. And so, I'm guaranteed earthworms are moving in here, all the things I need for my plants. So that's a better order, is to put this organic material, cover the ground with the organic material, get all those systems started, and then plant, rather than what literally everyone does, which is goes and buys plants and then creates the bed space after they get the plants home. And so that puts those engines, those things that the plants might need, that would be helpful for your plants, happening after they've gone in the ground rather than before. Something to think about. Somebody asked me about transplanting hibiscus. I get questions. This is one thing just about the questions on here. It would be helpful if you kind of let me know where you live a little bit, just what zone you're in or whatever, because sometimes the questions, asking me if you can transplant a hibiscus off a foundation. If you were in Florida, I'm guessing this might be a tropical hibiscus. If you were in, well north of me, I would think maybe it would be maybe a Rose of Sharon, which a Rose of Sharon is a shrub that's also a type of hibiscus. Or then there's perennial hibiscus, ones that die to the ground. Some people call them dinner plate hibiscus, and probably have the biggest, kind of showiest flowers on them. But all 3 of them could be transplanted to answer the question. But that question I thought led me to just say it'd be helpful if I kind of knew where you lived in terms of, so that when I answer the question, I make sure that I'm, not messing somebody else up someplace else in the country. But most things in the hibiscus family could be moved in the winter time. Rose of Sharon's a weed if it's a shrub. The dinner plate hibiscus, the ones that are perennial that die back to the ground completely, I might wait until February or March to move one of those. They tend to have issues with drowning in the winter. A lot of perennials, if you dig them up in the dead of winter and transplant them, if you're not careful, you can put them in very wet soil and have them rot. And of course, tropical hibiscus in Florida or South Texas or something, those things are weeds as well. They're where you are, and you can transplant those. Somebody asked me about hedging Leyland Cypress. They want to plant, I guess they're determined to plant Leyland Cypress, and they're going to create hedges out of them. And you can do it for a while. You can hold plants back that get ginormous for some period of time, but eventually they look odd. I think insects would try to attack them more because you're putting them under additional stress. So I think things like bagworms, spider mites could be an issue. The damage you're doing to the plant and the stress you're going to create in the plant could invite insect problems. I talked about that in last week's video. And there's a period of time that you could probably keep Leyland Cypress 8 or 10 feet tall and as a narrow hedge, and then you would lose, or they would just start to look more and more awkward because the trunks got bigger. I would look for, if you want that look, I would look for a juniper that just kind of grows that way. Hollywood juniper could be probably kept, although I like Hollywood juniper just to do its thing, but Blue Point juniper, that would be probably a very good choice for doing that. Yes, Leylands you could probably keep that way for 15 years, and then at some point when it goes wrong, it's going to go real wrong, and when you have to remove them, they're a pain to remove. Any landscaper watching me who's had to clean up Leyland Cypress issues, either ginormous ones falling or even smaller ones that you just, they're hard to get out of the ground. They're serious work, and they'll cost you serious money down the road. If you plant the wrong thing that gets too large, and they get bigger than you're comfortable taking them out, it's going to be very costly to take them out. This maple that's in my front yard here, which I'm really not comfortable taking out because there's some electric lines on the other side. I used to drop lots of trees on landscape jobs, but this one, it's got the house on one side, it's got electric on the other. It's going to have to be, somebody's going to have to climb it. That's going to be $1,000 plus for sure, just as one example of that. So anyway, thank you very much for watching this video. And like I say, look forward to, I got a very heavy schedule planned for January, and this shade plant thing still happening and all kinds of things going on. So thank you very much for watching. Ask your questions down below. And like I say, next week is Subscriber Sunday.